So you've worn the hat again. Oh, that's right. It's a watch cap. 'Cause I wasn't sure if it was cold inside, for you or not, since it
Well, it
is
is
kinda
both.
chilly, and,
Yeah. It's definitely cold in my house, colder in my basement. But I have so many different ones. I have ones for cold weather, I have ones for medium weather, I just got one for warm weather. So I love them. I mean, as you know, I've got a bunch of them, and I wait till they go on sale and I can get them pretty cheap
and
and free shipping and, yeah, so yeah, so
oops.
I wear a ton of them.
Yeah, it's better. Sorry
Can
about
you hear
that. I
me?
had an echo going, and I can hear you just fine.
Okay, good. Alright, so yeah, so thank you, everyone for stopping in and watching and listening to episode 36 of the Cube Nerds podcast. I am Mike and joined by Scott R. McKinley.
Or just Scott or Scotty.
Well, yeah, you know,
What however
the
you
intro
wanna put it, Mike.
the introduction will be formal, but I won't say your full name every time I address you.
That
How's
sounds
it
good.
going?
Going pretty good, actually. Had, a lot of stuff going on the last, week or 2 since we last talked,
Mhm.
and, so this episode, I promise not to take it over with, uh, talking on and on and on endlessly about myself and my projects,
That's quite
and to
alright.
allow you to get a word in edgewise and sidewise and flash moppy, and, so let's, have a really good week. I hope you're doing good
Yeah,
and
doing
the work's
alright.
going fine? Good.
Same old, same old. Yeah, work is has been pretty great. A little flooding in my basement after 4 days of continuous rain that I had
Some
to deal
areas
with.
got 6 or 7 inches around here
Yeah,
of rain.
I ordered some, like, super absorbent pads, I gotta get some bags of sand, I gotta seal up the wall in my
What kind of
basement.
pads are these?
Like ShamWows, like super absorbent
Oh, okay,
water
okay.
pads.
It's just the way you put it, the ShamWow.
Super absorbent pads, yeah. Whole box full of maxi pads I'm just gonna dump out on the floor in my
I
basement, let them
wasn't
soak
going
it all
there.
up.
I thought you meant SpongeBob's, kinda stuff.
No.
Oh, Patrick. But,
Yeah, so we'll,
it's
yeah,
been a lot of rain for up here in New Jersey, where
I
we,
know.
might or might not be, as opposed to, like, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or wherever else it's normally flooding.
Well, yeah,
Um,
that's a little
like the
different.
Mississippi, and at least we're not in Iowa where they're fearing an all-time high of the Mississippi cresting.
Oh, really? That's news to
Cresting,
me.
yes. Yeah, well, all that snow that they had up in the mountains, it's coming down now as it's starting to melt.
That's the first time I saw a ton of flooding in my basement was when I first moved into this house,
Ah,
and it was snow melting plus rain, and I went downstairs, and there was probably about an inch of water in my basement. I was like, "Are you shitting me?" Because plus because we lost power too. So I have a
of
sub
course.
pump, um, but, yeah, that was out, and without that, I was hurting.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
I'm lucky that our house doesn't flood. We did have water in the house, once or twice when it flooded or rained so hard outside that it was pooling somewhere. But the main time we had water in was, ice sickles underneath the gutters,
Mhm.
somehow finding its way in underneath the siding on the house and all
Oh,
that kind of
jeez.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we don't have aluminum siding, it's wooden, so it
Mhm.
worked its way in somehow,
Well,
and that was
cri
a long time ago.
crisis averted now. Lots of clouds, but at
This
least
is
no
averted.
rain. Yeah.
Yeah, and no tornadoes like,
Yeah,
a lot of
thankfully.
the countries had,
Yep,
but
no tornadoes in Jersey.
well,
As
a couple of weeks ago, there were some down in Central Jersey, but,
Yeah, and I know we get
uh
warnings about those, and my kids start to freak out a little about it, but I'm like, "Don't worry, we
well,
don't get
watches.
tornadoes."
Watches means that, it's an imminent kind of threat or the conditions are right. Warning means, that a funnel has been spotted on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
but
that's quite a difference between, "Oh, look, maybe it'll hail," as opposed to, like, "Ah!"
they don't travel too far, not with all the peaks and valleys we've got around here.
That's true. Our
Yeah, so
terrain actually makes it harder for it to stay on course, like,
exactly.
Kansas or somewhere where Dorothy's been missing for a while,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that little dog too.
Yep.
Am I right? Yeah.
So, Yeah,
Anyway,
so yeah,
there's a current events, wet, and warm, nice weekend coming up, I think. But
let's hope so. Yeah, so yeah, same old, and yeah, so this week's topic, which I actually wrote an article about, but I couldn't find it. Because the Cube Nerds website is no longer up and running, but I wrote an article once about keeping
I
candy at
remember.
your desk. Um and the benefits of it. However, it doesn't seem as relevant like my office. So our old office, you'd pass through people's desks to get from one spot to the other. That
Yes.
doesn't happen. And you still have a window open because I'm echoing.
Um,
Is your
I
home computer just like your work computer, where as soon as you boot it up, there's 50 tabs that open up?
This is true, but this isn't one. Tell you what, let me close everything except for the tab we're in right now,
That would be a great idea.
and doing so, and
So, yeah, so because now my office,
okay, this is the only tab open.
all the rows just lead straight to the window. So, um,
The
so
rows.
you don't pass through. It's like,
Oh,
walk
you don't walk amongst the other desks in the office area.
exactly. You just walk past every row to get to where you're going. So the candy option isn't there. But I know because I mean, seeing it firsthand is that you see somebody with candy at their desk. Like, how many times did you stop and chat and network? And I've seen it happen, with guys. Do you have it on your phone or something?
Like I said, I no, my phone's.
Because I
No.
still hear it.
Do you have any
Are your
windows open?
No, are your speakers on too loud? Maybe is that what it's coming from?
The only speakers that are active are in my ears right now, and
Hmm,
as far as I know, the this isn't. But let me turn this down just in case it's broadcasting out of here instead of the mic.
that could be too. Now, can you still hear me okay out of your earbuds? Yeah, see, I'm still hearing it. I don't know. I don't know what you're doing, man.
Tell you what, let me switch over to my headphones instead of the earbuds.
That's a great idea. Well, because if you go to settings, you can adjust it to what your speaker is, what your microphone is, to make sure it's the right settings.
And no, it should only be coming from the ones I'm using right now. And the only microphone is the one over here. So it shouldn't be picking up anything from the headphone. I'm sorry, the earbud mic.
See, I don't hear
But
an echo
just
when you talk.
oh,
I just only hear it when I talk. Does that mean it's me?
well, I'll tell you what. Let me put on the headphones. Take this off, so that will eliminate everything. I also have nothing else running in the background except this one window. All other programs on this computer are closed, except for a JPEG file of links, which I can close to just say there's nothing else open. So
Mhm.
give me a sec.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think that all these we'll get all this audio together one day. Don't mind those noises. Yeah.
There we
So,
go.
yeah, I wonder if maybe that's what it is because I don't hear it anymore.
Oh, well, then that took care of it.
Alright.
All right. So I'll refrain from that for future reference.
Yes.
This or other interviews and podcasts, because
Perfect.
that's something I was going to bring up a little bit later is that I've been on a couple of interviews
I know you have.
lately, and that doing this with you certainly helps me with those other endeavors.
Well, that's good. I know. You have quite the, I would say following or fan base, but, the Cube Nerds podcast, does well for the Spear Studios. Well, I would say the audio podcast does a lot better, than the Mind Your Effing Business podcast. I do need to promote more.
You do, you really do, because you've
Yeah.
really got something here.
Like I
For
made a
those listening to us, this is who don't know. This is your idea. the whole, well, did I come up with the name of it? Maybe I did, but,
Maybe you did. I think you may have come up with
yes, I
the
did.
Kubernetes name. I think you
I
did.
even
Yep.
remember, how I thought of it, so yeah,
Yep.
never mind. But, the idea of doing this and talking about this particular topic, that was you.
Well, yeah,
And
the first,
anything
like,
to do with getting
first
it
15
done,
episodes are me, just me on the drive to work in
just
the
you.
morning.
I know, and, I listened. They were actually quite good.
So I created a YouTube short yesterday. Um, I did it last night, like, just before bed, and I woke up and it had 854 views this morning.
Holy cow.
Yeah,
That's
it
quite a
kinda
lot.
stopped, so it was just overnight. It wasn't any more really throughout the day, but at least that's something, and the more you do that, the more it takes off. Because I was watching and, how to grow and promote, and that's what YouTube just doesn't do it for you. You have to have an Instagram page, you have to have a TikTok page, you gotta create YouTube Shorts, you gotta do Facebook Reels and all that other stuff, yada, yada, yada. That takes
Or just
time
keep
and
working on it, and it does take time.
does take
I
time.
have,
You gotta promote.
an old friend who
Merchandising.
has a YouTube channel that's, which I could talk about later. I don't wanna interrupt and distract like I
I know, I'm
sometimes
digressing as well. I think that's something that works good
actually,
for
no,
our
you're on
podcast.
point.
Well, I think that works good for our podcast too, is that we kinda keep it relevant and we have topics that we cover.
Yes,
And I think
and
that's
we're
good.
doing
We have a
better at it than we
smaller
had.
Yeah, we have a small little niche market that we're covering here as far as, cube workers and shit like that and office workers, and I think that might appeal to some folks. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
candy,
think
love
so.
candy.
Who doesn't? It's well, it serves 2, things when you have candy at your desk at work. First, it sends a, "Hello, I don't mind, other people coming here unless you think I'm actually going to eat all of this myself, in which case, what kind of opinion do you have of me?" But that doesn't normally happen. It's just a way of saying like, "Hey, if you're passing by and you happen to say hi, maybe you might like to partake of something that's a little, shall we say, a guilty pleasure kind of thing."
It's
'Cause
amazing how
most candies can be a guilty pleasure.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
if somebody puts out those old-fashioned swirl candies, it just sends up a help sort of signal of sort of like, "Help me,
Are you talking like
I."
those mint
Yeah, yeah.
candies? Like you get, like, at the diner on your way out?
I've seen people put them. Yeah, yes, exactly like that.
No.
I've seen them at people's desk. I'm like, "You gonna seat people, over on the other side of your
I
aisle,
forget who
or"
it was who had Hershey Kisses, and it was like, "God, now I'm eating like 10 Hershey Kisses a day because 'cause I'm
Yes,
just walking
dangerous.
past this." Yeah.
Yep.
But it's amazing how
And
something so small can have so much more behind it. Because I mean,
I
like, I had
just
literally
planned my
seen it.
way around the room of, like, which stops I was gonna make before
Yeah. Yep.
you
"Oh,
know,
it's
gotta go
Halloween. They've
down
got all their
this
kids'
row
Easter
over an
Halloween candy."
implementation because so and so has a basket. Gotta see if they've refreshed that. Maybe should put in some more.
Yeah.
And, am I right?
But I'd seen it where, like, the director would walk past and stop and bullshit with the guy for a little bit because he stopped with his candy, and then, they're talking about basketball or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, look at that. They did that little deal that stopped somebody in their tracks." Or like the finance director, I forget the other guy and what he did, but,
yeah,
yeah.
inexpensive gimmick
Mhm.
of sort of an excuse to, like, "Hey, if you feel like being social or even looking social, it's better than just ignoring your coworker."
Yeah, and it's like
Or somebody who works for you, yeah.
a little networking tool, and you don't even have to do anything. It's like letting them come to you.
Yeah,
Mhm. But again, yeah, but and I don't know how relevant it is with different office layouts again. With our last office, I mean, that's exactly how it was. I mean, I'm sure I could do it with my office now, but I don't and it would just kinda work in my little localized area. Now what I do, like, I had, like, this jar of peanut M&Ms. Bert will tell you, I housed it. He'd hear me open the jar when he was sitting next to me, he'd hear me open the jar and just give me a look, because 'cause I'd tell him, like, "Man, yell at me. When you hear me go into this thing, yell at me to eat this," because it probably took me a week to finish a giant jar of peanut M&Ms. I wasn't sharing those. Those were all mine.
oh dear.
Yeah, because
And
that's
I gotta say that that peanut, it detracts from the M&M. It really
See,
does. I think that was a mistake
why am I like the only person in the world who likes peanut M&Ms? My
because it was a
kids
mistake, that's
my
why.
kids, my wife, I love peanut M&Ms. I like them so much more than regular M&Ms because they give you more than just the chocolate.
Well, that's true, they are bigger, and they will
Yeah,
last longer if you eat them, and they will last longer because no one else will touch them, so you
that's
have more
crazy to
left
me.
over. But that's like, eating, little tiny, I don't know, sardines or something at your desk. Because yeah, nobody's gonna bother you. Nobody's
What
gonna
a
take any. Therefore, if you wanted to keep more, you no, that's one way of doing it.
That's so absurd.
Yes, it
What a
is absurd.
drastic comparison. Sardines to peanut M&Ms? I don't think so. Peanut M&Ms are way different, and
Well
peanut
well,
M&Ms
I
are
mean, I'm
delicious.
just thinking of that guy from long ago when you first started who had beets in his overhead, cupboard.
Oh my god.
It's sort of like
You wanna
it's
talk
like,
about
"Are
that
you going
fucking guy.
shopping or something?"
Ah,
It's like,
I remember the
these
one
weren't
dude
even, like, easy open beet cans. They were sort of like the, "Yeah, anybody got a can opener
yeah,
can?"
canned goods stored in his top shelf. He looked like fucking Gimli from The Lord of the Rings if he was 10,000 years old, and I remember the one dude we
And he
worked with
wore
too
those
explained it to me.
satin shirts that
Ugh.
were, like, bright and fruity colored.
He was like,
Like he
"Bro, he's got the beats all in his beard and everything. Oh, that guy's just foul." And since if you've been in the game longer than we have and you've seen so much shit, that's a story because didn't he go to jail for child pornography?
Yes, he did.
Jesus Christ.
Or at least I don't know about the jail time. I know that he was arrested for it
Yes, he was.
because, a news article was shared with certain members of the team
That's right.
after the person had gone on leave.
Yeah, because also too well, I mean, one, he was doing it on his work computer, I'm pretty sure that's how he got busted. But also
I don't think so, but,
wasn't there some deal he was, like, having a heart attack, and he didn't want them to call anybody, but they had to call somebody because they had to report it, and that's how he ended
he
up getting in trouble or something too?
he didn't want the attention, and the expense probably of, an ambulance showing up.
I guess. I remember us
And,
walking out and
but, well, that's more information than I think we really wanna go into about this kind of thing.
well,
Um,
we're not naming any names here,
no,
and
we're not, we're not.
he's dead too, didn't he die?
I don't know that he did.
Yeah, it's a
It was
shame.
less than 20 years ago, so,
Yeah, well,
it's I don't know. So
it
I
wasn't
would say rather than, discussing those parts of the details, I would just say that the person in question did have some sort of an arrhythmia attack of, an irregular heartbeat kinda thing, was very flustered. I was the person in charge that night
eh,
because there was no manager on hand, and I pointed out that our previous employer had an internal system where if you dialed a certain phone number, somebody in the building at all times was designated to be a medical, attendant of some kind. In other words, they'd taken a course in CPR, for instance.
mhm.
So for an in-building medical emergency, you could dial a quick number who could be present quickly for a real emergency or advise.
I remember
And
we were
that
waiting
person hadn't
outside.
known about that. So I pointed that on every single telephone in every single cube, there was a big sticker on the top of the receiver that said, "Medical emergency, call 5555."
Yeah,
And,
we were waiting
most of the
outside.
people hadn't realized that, and I'm like,
The
"You
one
know,
dude
it's
was
on your
like,
phone."
what would you do if you just went in there and they were like, "Clear," trying to bring him back to life?
A lot of good, offices actually have that where you have CPR equipment on the
Yeah.
floor and in a certain station.
Oh, see, I
They
went
aren't that
on
hard to use. You do
yeah,
need to be certified, you
alright.
do need to be shown what you're doing.
So, not all of the comments are coming in, but I went to the Facebook chat and I see, I think because our internet I'm pretty sure the whole world's internet has been sucking so far this year because my internet has been garbage.
Hmm,
However, Pat
but we
has
do have a
chimed
comment
in
or 2, yes.
yeah, Pat has chimed in, "I prefer peanut M&Ms any day." So, boom.
Oh, I didn't see that message. I see a
Yep.
different one,
I don't see that
which
message
says
either.
any M&M is my preference,
Yep, exactly. That's Melanie said
which
any
is
M&Ms
probably the
is
right
a
answer.
preference. Yes. My
And
wife is a
another person
huge fan of, peanut M&Ms. Not peanut, but peanut butter M&Ms.
I've
She very
tried
much
those,
enjoys.
and, it basically just that's something that reminds you of a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, but fails? That's what it's like.
I don't even know if it goes that far because that's a big difference there. You can't compare those 2.
But you always want to, because the whole idea of putting anything with peanut butter into a candy situation always harkens to the king, Reese's.
But that's
There
but
is no
exactly.
better peanut butter cup god than Reese's,
Well, that's why there's nobody else in the
except
game.
except dark chocolate wa did enter in as a game changer.
Oh, absolutely. Dark chocolate Reese's you're talking about?
Yes, and dark
Absolutely.
chocolate, peanut butter cups from, do we wanna use brand names on here? I mean, we're not gonna get in trouble, I would think.
I don't think
So,
so.
Trader
I think
Joe's.
I
Trader
think we're
Joe's have
okay.
their own dark chocolate peanut butter cups that are
They
pretty
do?
tasty. Yeah, they're pretty
Because they
good.
don't make dark chocolate Reese's anymore. I'm gonna have to go find me some of those.
They do still make them there.
Alright.
Obviously, with Trader Joe's, you have to worry about whether it's in stock or not, since they have an unusual way of putting something out that gets you really interested in it, and then it's gone.
Mhm.
It's either seasonal or it got so popular that they didn't make enough of it or order enough. But that's half the fun of going shopping there is
Huh.
trying to find things. It's not an overwhelmingly large store so that you're, like, lost in it. I go into our ShopRite and I get, like, yeah, I could spend hours there,
Yeah. See, I have a
which
Trader
is
Joe's by
why
my
my
job,
wife
but
normally
I've
goes
never been
shopping.
there.
She she also knows that I'll just buy things if we need them, and that's not how you're supposed to go shopping. You're supposed to go shopping with coupons and, deals in your mind, and you're supposed to know how much it should cost and not much how it does, and she'll know I'll just like, "I'd really like that particular, soup. I think I'll go buy it." She's like, it's expensive because it's, chunky or some really good, soup that's probably not as good for you as it should be, but"
Ah. So I just commented in the chat right now because folks on Facebook, if you haven't signed up on StreamYard, I can't see
Ah,
your name when you post. Like Pat just went back over to YouTube and now I can see his name. But if you go on Facebook, and I posted it to YouTube, I don't know why it doesn't post to Facebook. Um,
that's unusual.
yeah, it's weird. But I have the chat here so I can see as well. Um, okay, yeah. So again we backpedaled a little bit.
Yes,
Um,
yes. Well,
but yeah,
we're still talking about candies at your desk. It's just that I digressed over into the delicious field of peanut butter cups, and besides that one exception, all of the other ones are just sort of like
see, but
pretenders.
I don't think the peanut butter M&M tries to compete with the Reese's peanut butter cup.
Oh, it
I almost
does.
get more of a
It
taste.
wants to be.
I
At
doubt
the M&M
no.
company, we're like, "Today we crack it. Today's the day. Today
I
we
don't get
do
that
it.
vibe at all because they're not even close. The
Today
M&Ms
we
with the
we
thin
go over
candy
the top of
shell.
the trenches and we storm the German, Bastogne I'm sorry, that's World War One. But, you get the point of, that's what they want. You're like, "Oh, it's not really in competition." Trust me, it
I
is.
I
It
I I
is.
don't think so. I don't get that vibe at all. Because I feel like it doesn't taste anything like a peanut butter cup. You have the candy shell. It almost tastes more chocolate than peanut butter, while the Reese's peanut butter cup, the peanut butter almost overpowers the chocolate a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, they're just very different candies to me.
it walks that fine line. Did you ever try to make
However,
your own at Easter time?
peanut butter cups? No, my wife's aunt actually does. And they're very good. However, they're a little too much chocolate compared to um a little too much chocolate compared to the peanut butter, but they're good.
It depends how you did it. I mean, well, my sister, Lisa, who's not listening, but who's came up with this with me when we were both kids. You get the hollow plastic bunny chocolate, right, for Easter,
Mhm.
and then you grab that jar of Skippy or Jif out of the cupboard, and then you just start dunking.
Wow, that sounds like a
and
fantastic idea.
you just start mixing and matching just to see like, "Oh, it's too much chocolate. No, 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 this one has just enough." And that's the only time you're glad you don't have a solid milk chocolate bunny because that's impossible to bite, and you can't possibly combine it with, peanut butter.
You have to chip away at it for months.
Oh, I know, and you're like, "Why did I expect to like this?"
Yeah.
Because you always felt cheated every time you got a hollow one, like, "It's hollow."
So Pat mentioned 'cause, this office was one that I thought was perfect too.
Yes,
Waterview,
that was
which
the nicest office I ever worked in.
it really was. Waterview,
Um,
which could be anywhere, had candy in many cubes, quite the variety, especially in the training area. That
this is
office
true.
really didn't have any kind of direct layout to it. You had some
Yeah,
cubes going this way, some cubes going that way, big open area, but shelves, and another cubes going that way. So that was a kind of a good office for navigating around.
it
And yeah,
was.
you see somebody had some candy, "Yeah, let me stop in here, let me grab some," and then,
Well, you
chat, see
see it
some people on
now,
the way.
I've seen the newer layouts in some of the other offices, and the way they're laid out now, it's basically just a flat table, almost like you'd play ping pong on, except that there's a little riser, almost sort of like
Yeah.
a, visible net that separates you from your neighbors, and, it's kinda sad,
I
looking
went
at it because
to
it's very little private space.
Yeah, I went to an office like that the other day, and they had one of those tables in the middle. And then also the cubicles, like, they were little half desks, and the walls are glass. So, like, if someone is sitting on the other side of you, you're just staring right at them. Not a fan. Some people are like, "I like those desks because it's a little more open." Like, no, I like my privacy. I like my
Uh,
cube to be my own little world.
yes. And, it lets me focus sometimes. When I was on the phone and did, customer service, if I was in a mood or if I didn't wanna be distracted and I had a feeling that the phone call would go south if I couldn't focus, I wanted an area where I could just face a wall into a corner and not be distracted by people moving by me if I needed to.
Mhm.
And I would even, close my eyes and just right click on this, left click on that. What does it say? Very, very carefully, very slowly for somebody, what? What do you want me to do? Oh, it's not working. I'm missing punches. Just calm down, relax, relax. Be very precise. Let me just focus on what's going on. And every once in a while, ding, little bell goes off in my head or something.
When
And
I
you
took
got
my
enough
first
privacy at
call
that particular one not to have everybody like, "Are you busy?" "Ah, what's
mm,
"Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I'm sorry you startled me. You didn't actually scare me."
when I took my first call, like, I was sitting with somebody and shadowing someone, and it was my turn to take a call. I just said, "Hey, can I is it alright if I go over to my cube and do it?" And then that way I was just more comfortable at my desk, and I never took
Mm.
another call outside of my cube again. And again, I have everything at my desk. I have mouthwash and hand sanitizer and Febreze and desk cleaner and aspirin and yeah, so many about 10,000 different toys and gimmicks at my desk. Like my desk is my space. I got snacks in the drawers. My whole life is at my desk. I have phone chargers, headset charger, everything. I don't need to bring anything to the office because I'm totally prepared with everything there. Spider-Man figures, yes, Pat. Well, now I have a large collection of Funko Pop figures um, that are there.
Now, just on a side note, if I might digress, have they jumped the shark yet with the Funko Pop?
No.
I mean, they have an army of them now.
Yeah,
How many are there? There's, like, 35,000. They
yeah.
outnumber the people in the office now.
I
You
think
can have a
people
Funko Pop for your pet,
people are sick of them because they're everywhere.
and they all look alike.
However
It's almost like, how close can I have it looking like the person it's supposed to be, but not really?
however, they
Maybe not.
make everyone. That's the cool thing about it. They make
I don't have
everyone.
one.
You don't have any?
Well, I meant I don't have one of me.
Oh, okay. Alright.
And no, I actually don't have one.
Every pop culture character, let's say. They have Mortal Kombat, they have the Golden Girls. I have, a bunch of Marvel ones because I went with the unmasked. That's what I collect the unmasked
And
ones.
folks, I didn't know about the Golden Girls one, but Mike did.
Yeah.
Very
I'm not a
common.
f I'm not a huge fan of the Golden Girls because I haven't watched it. I feel like there is absolutely nothing wrong if you are a grown man that likes the Golden Girls
I would agree with that.
because it is
There are some
so
very,
popular.
very funny people who made that show and who acted in that show.
Yep, and, yeah. Um, so Melanie said, "A New York City innovation lab just had candy dispensers. Any candy you can think of in the common area. I never thought about it this way, but I guess it eliminates the candy desk for better or
Well,
worse."
what is a candy dispenser? I'm thinking like, does she mean there's a row of Pez?
No, I think it's like
Or
a
is this free or is this like a, a machine where you put money in?
see,
And
I
so it
feel like,
dispenses
yeah,
candy, but it's gonna cost you more than it costs to make, or more than it or more than
yeah,
what you wanna spend on candy.
just has candy dispensers in the common area. So, yeah, so is it vending machines or is it free vending machines? I mean, that's what
That's
I
the word,
picture
thank
it.
you. Yes. Now if it is
Rows and
free, then
rows, wow.
it's, odd.
So she said rows and rows of free candy.
Oh, wow.
See, that to
And I
me
haven't been receiving any in my mailbox, Melanie, just putting it out there.
that to me sounds
I'm in
like,
the
yeah,
book.
you're eliminating the common and the networking idea and just stuffing
Yes.
your face with free candy, which is bad.
If it's bad
At
for the
least
company,
yeah,
good for PR, maybe?
at least you're getting
Although
something out of, if it's at somebody's desk. If there's just free candy there to take, I mean, at least
yeah,
I guess
and you
I
also
guess
have
you
to
gotta get out of your
define, like,
desk
what
to
kind
get
of
it.
candy. This is not enough data for us to analyze. Remember when I
Chips
was writing pieces, for when we started Cube Nerds, and I wanted to do a piece on snacks in the office, I researched it. I read 2 books, and I took photographs of all the vending machines at our particular location at the time, and I was gonna look up all the different factoids about each and every single candy bar that was in those machines, and all the non-candy ones, and then we were going to argue the pluses and minuses, but we were both in an uproar of moving, at that point, changing jobs and things, so
okay.
that never came to be, but I still have the photographs.
Wow. I know
So
the Food Fight Part 2 is our most popular episode, our most popular podcast episode by far, which is wild. I don't know why that is, but that's interesting to me.
Well, I
Um,
I I've been riffing on it for so long that I some of the stuff has become bits now, and I don't know if I even agree with them any longer. It's just that that happens to strike me as funny, and when I say them, I'm surprised that people who get upset discussing food, like
mhm.
I've actually hurt them in some way because they had faith that Sun Chips were more than just, sad little pieces of cardboard that had just been left out in the rain. And I
Yep.
got some,
There we go.
hate in a voiceover group recently for discussing, pancakes as being the white trash of the breakfast kingdom, but, it
Man,
is as is.
your fucking takes on food drive me nuts. Because everything is a hot take. Did you say first of all, we lost connection for a little bit, so your just
Oh,
whole rant you went on right there, we missed all of it.
oh,
However,
no.
when you came back, did you just say that the pancakes are the garbage of breakfast food?
I said they're the white trash of breakfast food. They wanna be there, they wanna be a player with the big boys. They sort of wanna be,
Well,
they're stuck with
oh my
the
god.
Three Musketeer bar and the Milky Way of sort of the, well, these are wannabe people. We'll let them play, but we already know that Snickers already won. But,
I
we
agree
wanna
that
give them a
Snickers
chance
won.
to.
I do
Yeah,
like Milky Ways though.
long ago.
Um,
No, no, you don't. And,
however,
again, I would ask you, what is the
oh,
definition of the word nougat?
I think you just pissed off Pat.
There
Um,
you go, and it's just talking about food.
so
What does Pat say?
So, wait, okay, wait. So so you see, like pancakes wanna hang out with the big boys. Pancakes are the big boys. You think breakfast, you think pancakes.
Well, you think of
Eggs and
it's good for the
pancakes.
people who sell them because you think it costs what, like a nickel to make, like, 20,000 of them?
Yeah.
Well, maybe exaggerate, maybe like 20. A nickel to g
That's I mean,
20, and you charge people $5 a pancake. Okay,
pancakes
that's
are
got the largest, I just ripped you off revenue
they
that
are
you're gonna
very
get from
common
any.
They're a very common go-to food in low-income houses.
And
I
I
know
don't
that.
blame that, I'm just saying that the taste isn't very good. One of the reasons you can tell is because you can't eat them by themselves, you have to pour goo on top of it in
See,
order to mask the flavor of nothingness.
then you're eating the wrong fucking pancakes, man. Are you just eating instant pancakes? Like, is that it? Just add water?
No, 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 I've had pancakes from well, I do IHOP pancakes count as pancakes?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
then
have
I've had
pancakes, they're
IHOP ones,
delicious.
and they're just as bad, because
Bro,
if
there's
you don't put
buttermilk
the glop on
pancakes,
them if you don't put the
there's
glop, how do they taste? They taste like dry, don't they? They taste
some of them,
like
some
yeah,
don't. My mother made
mm,
pancakes when we went camping about 2 weeks ago. My mother made pancakes in a camper on the stove and the no, on the griddle outside that's hangs outside this camper, and they were delicious. They were crispy on the outside. They had a
well,
taste to them. I
I
put syrup
can't
on them
put
because
that
why
down.
wouldn't you?
I can't put that down because first of all, you've got your mother made it, so automatically that gets a pass. Anytime your mom makes you something, that's a pass. Done. And I'm sure your mother was a good cook. Um, oh, yeah. It was like, "Why are you muting?" Like, "Ah, her cooking wasn't good." Plus, now you've got it with an association with something fun, like,
That was a joke. I muted
what
and
the
then
fuck?
flipped out. Okay.
Something fun like camping. So and you've got the wood smoke smell to the
Alright,
pancakes.
never mind. You're looking way too far into this, because they're
Well,
still good
I just meant
anyway.
that's a really
I don't
great
care if I was
way
in my
if you're gonna
kitchen.
eat a pancake, that's how you do it.
Okay, so now
I
what
can't think
about,
of a
like,
better way to eat a pancake,
where does a
to be
waffle
honest.
stand?
Waffles are great.
Do you eat a
If you don't
waffle
put
without
s
syrup on it?
yes, and I
Get the fuck outta
never
here.
put syrup on my waffles.
What?
I will put butter on them, but I never put syrup because it doesn't need it.
It's the same
It should
thing.
already have a little bit of sweetness to it.
It's the same thing except the shape is different.
It tastes different, and it tastes better, and you've got texture going for you. Pancake, you have one texture, which is basically SpongeBob, and that's it, that's your texture. It's just dry, and it's sort of like mealy, whereas, toast is a three-dimensional texture. It's crunchy, and then it's soft. It's almost like
Toast?
the, description by the way, if you've ever thought about, like, an English muffin, what the heck is with the nooks and the crannies? Whoever that ad agency was, that guy who came up with nooks and crannies, I hope he got retired on that because that was worth every penny of it. Could anybody here tell me what a cranny is? What's a
Yeah,
cranny?
it's a
Nook, you
little
know. Nook is the small little alcove kinda thing. What is a cranny? You
I
don't
don't know.
know. He made up the word and put it together with Nook, and the guy is a billionaire, or at least probably should be. Something like that. Very
Probably.
successful.
English
Abercrombie, they
muffins are
don't
good.
touch it.
My
Am I
my
right?
friend's mother, when
Yes.
we'd sleep over at his house, my friend's mother used to make us a giant plate of English muffins for breakfast. Some with
Oh,
butter, some with strawberry jelly, some with
oh.
grape jelly. Excellent. And yeah,
Excellent,
chocolate
and I
chips
don't
on
even like
waffles.
jelly all that much. I don't hate it. Jelly's fine. Jelly's fine. I'm not going after jelly lovers. It's okay.
See, my wife and
Uh,
kids are addicted to chocolate chips in their pancakes. Obviously, yeah, if you're putting chocolate
well, yes,
chips
you
in your
had somebody
pancakes.
evil go in there, almost like a drug pusher, and like, "Hey, let's put some chocolate in this." It's like the Nutella people,
See,
you
I'm not
know, that
overly nuts about it.
the band of, like, mafiosi who, like, the Nutella crowd. "Hey, hey, you want some chocolate? Here's some chocolate for you." "You know what I mean?
Nutella's a
Just do
little
me a
much.
favor, I'll do you a favor. Here's the Nutella," you know.
And obviously, yeah, if you're putting chocolate chips into pancakes, you don't wanna put syrup too, that's just way too much sugar for you. How about this now?
Well, then let's put whipped cream on top. Next thing you know is there's your IHOP pancake.
Well, yeah. Well, see, that's why, like I said, I
You've
don't like chocolate chips in my
like
pancakes.
it's like using the excuse of a granola bar to say, "Hey, it's a healthy food." And, do you remember oh, what were the name of those, candy bars? Or they weren't supposed not the Kind bars, which are very close to candy bars, but oh, it's not a s'more, I can't remember what it was called. It was basically like a candy bar with a little bit of granola in it. And you're supposed "Oh, it's healthy for you." So, I can eat this for breakfast. You know, it's an energy bar. It's like
Um,
saying oh, never mind. I'm getting, carried away with myself
yeah, I know. I wanna mention this, then we're way off track here.
because yeah,
Um,
we have to go back to candy.
so I forget where I saw it. I think online or maybe in one of my kids' highlights magazines. I make for them for my kids for breakfast. It's called banana sushi.
I've been to Uncle Bill's in Cape May.
Oh, look at that.
Did you just say banana sushi?
Banana sushi.
And I'm hoping you're not talking about the raw fish sushi?
No, that's why I said it's called banana sushi.
Okay, well, I you could put bananas in with raw fish if your
Yeah,
kids are
no.
demented and evil enough,
So
or if you are as a parent.
you take a banana, you coat it in peanut butter, roll it in. See, I like walnuts. My kids like granola. Roll it in granola, roll it in mini chocolate chips, and then cut it into slices. And then they actually eat it with chopsticks. They love it.
Well, who wouldn't love it? It's pure sugar. What do you call it, the Elvis?
Well, you know,
I'll eat my peanut
granola's
butter
not bad. They're
and
getting a
banana
banana for
sandwiches, yeah.
breakfast.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
what, like, so there's some chocolate chips on it. The fucking thing's not
Oh,
coated in
hunk
chocolate
of burning
chips.
love over there. Oh, sorry, yes. Chips. I heard you.
Yeah. All right. So candy. Um,
Yes, candy. We were talking
yeah.
about candy before, I think, Mike, and we were talking about people stopping off and borrowing some just to be able to chat with you and sort of network.
Um,
Please continue.
so, um,
I was going to show you the kind of candies that I eat now. So at my desk right now, I have these icebreaker sours. You can get these at most convenience stores. They're pretty
well,
small, and these, if I'm not mistaken, are sugar free.
okay. So here's something I'll go to since you have those. Um, and we talked about M&Ms earlier.
I wouldn't just eat these, by the way. Your tongue will hate you if you do,
Well, that's true. You
because
can't
it'll
pop a
get
bunch of
pitted
those like
and
crazy.
yeah.
Um, so okay, if you, I guess maybe let's say pre-COVID, would you leave just a bowl of M&Ms or a bowl of hand candies out for somebody to grab?
Um, that's a good question. I don't think I've ever put out myself M&Ms loose,
Yeah, I don't think
as
that's the
opposed to
move.
having it separately packaged. That doesn't sound like the healthiest way to be able to serve snacks to a coworker.
Even yeah, even post or even pre-pandemic, you
Yeah,
wouldn't do
even
such a thing.
pre-pandemic, I don't think I've ever seen anybody just have loose chocolate that wasn't wrapped or
Yeah,
loose candies that weren't contained in some sort of a tube or a little bag.
okay. That's what I
Um,
wanted to kinda confirm here.
hmm.
Yep. You'd have see, now that's the thing too, and I mean, I to be honest, I haven't been to a bar in a while, but Pat mentions you'd have peanuts or pretzels at a bar. I know a big actually, a new common one at a bar was popcorn.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
deal, you go and you know, you grab it, you don't think anything of it.
Well, normally they give you your own, or
Not at the
they'll give it
bar,
to your table, but, they don't do that now?
not at the bar, man. Well,
I
I don't know what they do
remembered having
I don't
people
know
like,
what they
"Hey,
do now.
can I have a thing of popcorn?" I wouldn't trust myself to really wanna eat out of a bowl that other people have been noshing at the bar. I know that it was a thing in the past to have nuts out on a bar that were a common thing, but I would only share that kind of a thing with the group that I was personally with, as opposed to, the guy rubbing his nose down to the other end of the bar who's been there too long, who's, hitting on some poor, uh, girl lady, next to him or something, and that sounds, skivvy or skivvy. Ugh. So, sounds doesn't sound like a good spot to be in, though.
That
We're not gonna go there.
just elaborate and go on and on so much. I mean,
Elaborate.
yeah,
Yeah.
I again,
Grella.
so
So, yes,
yeah.
I don't think that's, especially post-COVID, I don't think that's a good idea. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but, you don't have to mask any longer if you go into, doctor's offices. It's now
Yeah,
optional where we
I
are.
have heard that.
And at Quest Labs, and at, what's the other place? LabCorp, I think. You don't have to wear a mask there either. So,
Okay,
as of,
that's
like,
good.
this month or something,
Yeah, and I think they just
or
pushed it because
April,
I
April.
I have to travel to Las Vegas
You?
in about 3 weeks.
You? Really?
Yes.
Schwa? Why? Is
Yes.
this a business kinda thing?
It is a
Or is this
business trip.
all pleasure?
Yeah, and a business trip for a conference. I have to go all week. I have to be there Monday night, and I don't leave
Oh,
until
I'm
Friday
so
morning.
sad.
Yeah, it's crazy, um, to be gone that long, and in Vegas, and, of course, that's when my wife has a bunch of tests that have to be done and stuff like that. That's just always
No,
how it goes. Um,
I was being facetious, but yeah,
yeah, and
that
it's
isn't very convenient.
um, where the hell
Um,
was I going with this now?
I have tips
Oh,
for you if you want them, but,
it just came out that you don't have to, wear a mask when you're flying or something like that, or you don't have to provide proof of vaccination if you're a resident of the United States or something like that, so
I think it's been a while since you've had to show that,
I guess so. Maybe it's just for
and you
foreign
haven't had to
travelers.
mask for quite a while.
I haven't traveled in
Um,
quite a while, so I'm not aware. I don't know.
yeah. No, I didn't travel last year, so I'm not quite sure, but 2 years ago, that was the case where you did, so
Yeah. Hmm.
so we'll anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know
S
why I brought that up, but, I think I don't
Yeah,
remember why I
so
brought that. But anyway, you are going to Vegas, and,
yeah,
if you need tips, maybe we could talk about vacationing for or no business trips, maybe our next, podcast subject.
that's a good idea. Have you been on a lot of business trips? Because the
I
only ones
have.
that I've been on are the same this trip, but I went on it twice before in my other group. Now it's completely different in my current role, but it's the same conference. But I never traveled at all with the other company or anything, so
Well,
but you did a
but
little
yeah,
bit.
we can do that maybe next, week,
Sure.
if there's time
Next week,
before you have to leave.
we'll talk
When do you
business
have to leave,
trips.
by the way? So,
When do I leave what, for the trip?
yes.
The 23rd?
Oh, okay, so not for a couple of weeks,
Yeah,
so,
no, we got
so
2 more
before you
episodes
leave,
in
we'll
us.
discuss business trips, I'll give you some tips, and maybe we can even get some tips from some of our listeners, because
Maybe.
I know that we've got at least a couple of fairly well-traveled people here, one of whom has traveled with me,
Aha.
so they could
We
tell you which
will.
of my
We will
tips are crap,
we'll discuss that
which
next
ones
week.
might be worth listening to, yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, so, I mean, the key thing here is networking. Networking, networking. That's what it's all about. You're being friendly, you're
and
networking.
about the candies. These are Werther's. It's
Werther's.
another candy I
See,
have at my desk. These are sugar-free.
dude, you're
What?
killing me.
What?
How can you badmouth anything? And then you have Werther's at your desk? Sugar-free Werther's at your desk? What leg do you have to stand on to badmouth the Milky Way?
Oh, because they suck. I mean,
Compared
that
to
was
a
pretty easy.
Werther's?
Oh, well, first of all, if you don't want to eat a giant candy bar every 20 minutes, if you are jonesing for something just to do while you're not eating or, you know,
Well, they do make
drinking a
bite-sized
nice,
Milky Way
coffee,
candies you can just pop in your mouth real quick.
if you wanna settle for a Milky Way, sure, I guess.
I like Milky Ways.
I'm so sad.
And you know what?
Just again, the one word, nougat.
And I like Three
Define nougat.
Musketeers. I don't know, it's gooey shit they put in candy bars. That's
I think one of the main ingredients is something called water.
okay.
Like,
Hydrodium phosphate and whatever the hell else is probably in there that makes
I don't know,
nougat.
did you ever have really inexpensive butter called whipped butter
Yeah.
at school? And all it is butter with water in it.
Okay.
It doesn't taste like anything. It doesn't melt.
Well,
And nougat is sort of like, a sugary thing that's, good filling when you want a candy bar to look thicker because you don't have much chocolate in it.
and it tastes delicious.
Uh, no.
You know, I
You
really
ever have
want.
one of those guns where you shoot, like, that stuff that you, degrout something with? It's sort of the same kind of texture as that.
No, it's not. So there you go. Frozen Milky Ways. Frozen
Frozen's
Milky Ways
interesting,
or Three Musketeers, awesome.
but what's better, Frozen?
Uh,
Charleston Chews.
oh my God, Scott, a Charleston chew? We
Yes, a
can't even have
Charleston.
wait, this conversation's over.
Well, you've got 3 flavors. You have vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry, so which one are you dissing?
None.
Dissing.
I'm
Oh,
putting them in the garbage. A Charleston chew. Get the hell out of here.
they last a
Um,
long time
and
when
we
you're
don't.
eating them.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're chewing on it for a fucking hour.
Yeah,
It's stuck in your teeth, ripping your fillings out. No, Charles. Oh my God. Um,
and they have the,
Mel.
convenience of being different from every single other candy bar out there.
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
just, thinking back to the old days where they had the marathon bar, which went on and on and on forever, like the braided chocolate, and the Choco Light bars. Remember Choco Light? They had these, little
no.
tiny air pockets in them. They have some
Oh,
sort of
maybe.
a
Yeah.
version of it, called an Aero, AERO, in Canada and
Yeah.
in,
And it's like less
Britain, but
calories because it's an
they're
air
still not as good.
fluffy.
No, no, no. It had this little crunch to it where the little bubbles were. Just the texture was slightly different enough
Okay.
to make it interesting when you're eating it, like, "I like that. That's different."
See,
And in a good way.
we need to definitely have the snack conversation
We do.
because God,
And
they're
I
just
know
so
our old coworker Bert would chip in on this, although
maybe.
he had
Yeah.
delightful diversions of strange things that he liked.
Yeah. See, that's why I want. Yeah, I wish we could get a lot of listeners for that because I'd love to see a lot of people chime in. I honestly don't
Yeah,
think
I think once
anybody
we
would
got to
agree
the
with you.
subject of, what was it? Grape Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bert's out there for that shit. He
Yep,
likes yellow starbursts and black licorice, and that's
black
insane.
licorice, folks.
I
You
think
heard it here, black licorice. Yeah, there's still one.
I think Pat likes black
His name is
licorice, if I
Bert.
remember from the last time we've brought this up. Um, but yeah,
Oh,
disgusting. Yellow starbursts, gross. Um,
I'm not arguing that.
but also your take on Pringles. Pringles are delicious.
Pringles
And
are
you're like,
fake.
they're
They're fake.
particle board. No,
They
they're not.
are particle
They're
board.
not
I
they're
mean,
not greasy. They have a
I
delicious
does it
taste to
occur to
them.
you when you see an entire row of Pringles that they're all exactly the same? Does
Yeah,
it occur to you they don't grow in nature? Potatoes don't grow like that in gigantic long things so that you can slice them up all evenly.
I'm sure
Obviously, they are handmade and they are particle board, only they're particle potato board.
yeah, Pat said I love black licorice. And Melanie gave the almost barfing emoji.
Yeah. That's for a good reason too, because black licorice. And I told this to Bert when he was showing me that wonderful bag of black licorice that he bought like on the black market somewhere. No pun intended. Of like, didn't that just kill somebody? And then I remembered I'd read an article that somebody had eaten an entire bag, or maybe more than a bag, of black licorice and died. Yes, died.
See, I
And
think I
Google it.
I feel like I remember where we had this conversation because that was
Yes,
the
we
case
did.
because that's like what would be left in somebody's candy dish would be like grape Jolly Ranchers or yellow Starburst because that's the stuff nobody wanted. He's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
delicious.
And to me, all that means is that he has a very low self-opinion of himself. That he thinks he's only worthy to eat the leftovers that other people won't touch.
That's interesting.
Like there's some sort of a caste system of candy.
That's a deep psychological dive that maybe
Yes.
he needs to talk to somebody about.
It's like, the
Why do
caste
you
system
feel
in
that you're
India, and you
only
have the
worthy?
untouchables on the bottom, and there's the grape, Jolly
Why
Ranchers.
do you feel that you're only worthy of black licorice?
Yes,
Pat
exactly.
Pat mentioned Fritos. Fritos are good.
I love Fritos.
Fritos are not a
Frito is
go-to
the
for
only
me, but I like
non-potato
Fritos.
chip that I happen to like.
Yeah, see,
Although they did change the recipe once,
I'm not a
and
huge
their sales
Doritos fan.
Doritos are fake chips. They're not real. Doritos just suck.
Well, you can't say Doritos suck because
'Cause
Everybody
they
loves
do,
Doritos.
I don't.
I'm not a huge fan of Doritos, but I will eat Doritos.
And
They're not my
I've seen you
go-to.
eat those, what are they, Tostitos?
Yeah, Tostitos are good.
No, they're not.
You know what, here's the
You
okay.
like to think they are. You like to pretend they are because you can get them inexpensively,
See,
and
the
anything inexpensive is at least inexpensive.
Tostitos are
I'll agree
meant
with that.
for dips, but here's the deal.
The point of putting goo on things that don't taste good by themselves?
If I eat, like, a Tostitos chip, I will get the salt in it is, like, addicting, and then I will just eat a ton of Tostitos chips with nothing on them. So, that happens. They're good, but, yeah, I mean, I'm not just gonna get a bag of Tostitos chips and just start snacking away on them. Yeah, I don't even wanna hear your take on cookies or anything either, because God forbid. I'd be like, "Fig Newtons are the greatest cookie that there are," even though they're not cookies, they're Fig Newtons.
I was gonna say they're not cookies.
It's not a cookie.
Are they okay? They can be okay in the right time. Are they a go-to for me? And they're not, and they shouldn't be for you either.
No, they're
Yeah.
what's the best
They
candy to
also
keep at your
dry out.
desk?
For the purposes as stated above? That's a good question. It might be, back in the day, they used to have something called, Charms Sour Balls, which were basically just, not well, they had sugar in them, but the problem was that they weren't individually wrapped, so you can't really have them, and if you had
They
a damp
weren't?
day no.
I'm pretty sure they
They
make them
came in a
now.
can,
I think
I don't think they make
Oh,
them
okay, yeah.
anymore.
I think the only time I've ever seen them, is when they were individually wrapped. Because they make them now. That's the only time I've ever seen them as individually wrapped.
Yeah, and they need to be individually wrapped in today's culture and society.
Well, that too,
Plus, it yeah, it kind of
obviously.
creeps me out if other people are like, "Oh, there's so many fingers in there." Ugh." So what's a good one to have at your desk that doesn't bankrupt you?
I think
One that's
Hershey
good to
Kisses are a good one.
I I like Hershey Kisses. Please don't get me wrong. It's just it's monotonous. It's like, yeah, it's a giant hunk of milk chocolate. Okay, oops, that stupid little, piece of paper in there, and then but, I would say that if you wanna impress somebody, you have to keep in mind 2 things, that, temperature in the office is a key, because if you have a warm environment that you're in, the AC goes off at night, and when you come back in, especially on Monday morning and the AC's been off all weekend, you come back to a puddle of chocolate with little wrappers floating around,
That's
or you come
interesting.
back to the glob of, the Jolly Rancher melt. Have you ever seen one of those?
Yeah, just a
Where
big
it's
wadded
you
ball
take
of Jolly
one
Ranchers.
and they are all stuck together in one gigantic, like, candle that you used to make out
That's
of
interesting. I
wax,
never I never
where
thought
you
about
had all
something
the
like that
melted,
happening.
crayons. Well, this is the candle out of melted Jolly Ranchers.
Pat mentioned Mr. Goodbars. See, I'm not I like Mr. Goodbars, but I've never had,
How
like,
old are you, Pat?
I
Oh
don't even know
my
if they
god,
make
Mister they do make Mr. Goodbar still.
no, do they make full
What is it,
size Mr.
Oreo
Goodbars? Are they
cookies and
only
milk, cookies and milk, like, yeah. Uh,
Wait, no, we said Oreo cookies and milk before we went on the tangent about cookies.
yes, actually,
Wait,
that is pretty tasty.
are you gonna you're not gonna
So are choc
badmouth
what?
Oreo cookies?
No.
Okay.
I will say that Hydrox is a worthy, um, competitor,
What?
although they tend to go out of business very quickly, but they keep bringing them back. Hydrox.
What are
Hydrox makes
Hydrox?
the Hydrox is an Oreo from before the Oreo was created, only they focus more on the taste of the wafer than on the glop in the middle, because that's all
The
anybody ever
wafer?
thinks
You
of.
mean the cookie?
Yeah. Well, they used to be thinner, the cookie. So in Hydrox, you're getting more or less the 1930s style Oreo
Hydrox. It
cookie.
sounds like it just sounds terrible, and I think I know what you're
It's the
talking about,
company's name. It was the
and they
company's name.
can't hold a candle to Oreos. Oreos have created the staple of the sandwich cookie, and now they
But
make
the
so
the
many different
cream in
kinds
the
of
middle
Oreos,
of
it's
the Oreo,
ridiculous.
takes over sometimes.
That's the point. Have you ever seen the most overstuffed Oreo? They're like this friggin' fat. They're like a
And I think
cheeseburger.
that's
They're like
overkill.
a cheeseburger Oreo.
How much icing do you like in your cake when it before it stops being cake?
I see, I never had them. I wanna have them, but I haven't had them, but there's a friend of mine who says Oreo Thins are, like, delicious. I'm like, "Why would you want less cream
I've
filling
seen
in your
those,
Oreo?" But
uh, but, which one, so chocolate chip cookies, right?
yeah.
They came out with a whole variety of flavors a few years ago,
Are you specifically
and
referring to Chips Ahoy?
yeah, thank
Okay.
you, that was the name. And they came out with a red velvet flavor,
Yeah.
and, don't eat them because they're that
Yeah, I don't
good.
think I was nuts about it.
You'll
I think I may have
stop eat
had
no,
them.
no, 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 they're that good. You won't stop eating them if you
Really?
start.
Oh, okay. I don't
Yeah.
remember. Hmm.
At some point, I'm sure you get sick of them. I hadn't reached it by the time I finished the bag, and I decided not to buy more
I'm
after
actually
that.
a big fan of, they have Oreos. I feel like they're not as good as they were when they used to make them, but they have Oreos and they're dipped in fudge, and, like, that's how they sell them. They're like chocolate covered Oreos, and they're man, they're so good.
And of course, those were the first candy that got the label of or cookie of being deep fried and tasting good,
And their, deep fried Oreos are amazing.
and I have never tried them.
They're
Do I
very
want
good.
to? Part of me does. Part of me
Yeah.
wants to try that as well as the, what's the long candy bar that's deep fried? Is it a Milky Way?
No, I think they deep fry Snickers.
Oh, you're right, I think it is.
I think so. They deep fry everything on down the shore.
And,
Pickles and shit, who
Twinkies.
knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Twinkies too, yeah. I know there's a whole yeah, I know we should start a food podcast instead. Talk about snacks and cookies
We get
and
tired of it after a while, and then we start talking about the Food Network and how it's become just a giant game show with people spinning the wheel for pickles,
couldn't even tell you
whatever
the
it is.
last time I watched the Food Network.
It's been a
Um,
long time for me.
so I think alright, so here's the deal. Alright, let's go this way then. So, alright, so you mentioned both with, the temperature being an issue.
Oh, that's right. So I was gonna
Wha
say, if you really want to impress someone, Pat is actually on the right trail. Hershey miniatures. They're all individually wrapped. You have a variety of like, oh, there's chocolate with peanuts if you insist. There's Mr. Goodbar. There's crackle. Oh, always got to get
Mhm.
that crackle in there. You can't just eat crackle, but boy, if you have it in there, it's always the go-to, I think. There's dark, there's semi-dark, and there's at least two others that I'm forgetting.
Semi-dark, you mean milk chocolate?
No, they make one in the middle between
Really?
dark and yeah.
That's
It's
news to me.
you'd recognize it immediately. "Oh, yeah, I never liked that," which is how most people feel about it. I just can't remember the name of it. I'm waiting for
So,
Pat to type it
would
so
you
he has it.
go would you go candy or would you go chocolate at your desk?
Well, if I was the one stealing it, I would probably go candy. I prefer to hoard the kind of things that last longer, whereas chocolate tends to be, environmentally unfriendly. You know, it's easy to put it in your pocket, and your pocket gets a little warm, and then you have hopefully, it's still intact within the little package when you remember that, "Did I just put that in my pocket?"
Well
You know?
well, I mean, if you're walking by and grabbing a piece of candy, you're not grabbing a piece and putting it in your pocket for later, you're eating it right there. That's where the conversation and networking comes into play.
This is true.
Now, if you were leaving candy out on your desk, what would you leave out? Candy or chocolate?
Probably candy, just because it lasts longer, and I think you're likely to have a more wide appeal with it because of people who are very self-conscious about eating chocolate in front of others.
Interesting.
Most of the people, not most, I was gonna say at least, there's an obesity crisis in the country, and there are people who struggle with weight.
But I
Heck,
don't
I'm
wanna
one of
say
them.
most of the people.
I'm one of them. I just, and it's nice not to be tempted with
Telling
something,
me
or at
how
least
hard it is.
somebody watching you take it or eat it in front of you.
But that's interesting too, because
You get very self-conscious.
that's not something you think of that maybe somebody wouldn't feel comfortable by eating it. So yeah, you'd wanna go candy because you wanna keep them around. You want them to keep coming back because you're trying to, network and make friends. That's interesting too. Huh.
Yeah, because otherwise, it's almost like you're trapping them. You don't want it to look too much like a honey trap or something like you're trying to catch, I don't know, bears or something. Whatever else it is you put out honey for to catch.
Mhm. Okay. How about that, though? Interesting. That's something I did not think of. So we got a nice little tidbit about, nice little
It
things we
also
touched
means that
upon
if
about
you
the
put the
types of
other
candy you let
stuff
out.
out, it's more likely to disappear if you're not at your desk
What
because
oh, the
it's the kind of the chocolate, because it's the kind of thing somebody will take, but they don't like to be seen taking it.
yeah,
Speaking partly from experience.
interesting. I would
Absolutely.
say I would say Dum Dum lollipops are a good call then in that regard.
Very good. Or if you want a, I
If
told
you
you I'd be
break out
prepared.
if you break out this word, this podcast is over.
No, this is a Zollipop. This is a sugar-free lollipop.
Okay.
See,
Everything's sugar-free, huh?
well, I'm trying to do that. I stopped eating all the sugary stuff, and health issues, that kind of thing. I'm trying to be self-conscious and try not to eat salty snacks like I used to.
I know we're running late tonight, Pat. Have a good night. Thanks for
Oh,
watching.
thanks, Pat. Take care, man.
Yeah, I hear you. You know, I know you gotta watch the sweets.
Yeah. And it's something to do when you're nervous or something. Remember, I used to smoke, so I don't do smoke breaks anymore, and I don't have
Yeah,
any other way to energize myself because smoking did that back in the day.
I hear you.
And I don't drink, was it Red Bull?
Yeah, none of that
But
shit.
I do like my coffee, and I do like my caffeine, even at 11 o'clock at night.
You're drinking coffee now. See, I sometimes have a cup like 5, 6 o'clock because I really just start dipping. At the end of the day, I'm like getting zonked out. And then I kind of stay up a little bit for it, but I don't know. It depends. Sometimes I feel like it does the trick, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know if I would be crazy enough to have a cup of coffee at 11 o'clock at night, though.
Well, sometimes I stay up late because I keep recording hours. And because I, still recording audiobooks, I'm limited as to what time of day I can record by other people living in the house. And so even though I've got this nice booth here, I can still hear it when people are upstairs walking around.
Hmm.
And it's not polite to ask your family, like, "Can you be quiet? I'm recording."
All
So
right. So yeah, so I think we touched
I'll
on.
keep late hours sometimes just because of that.
I hear you. All right, so then we think we touched on some good stuff as far as the candy talk, and
Yeah.
again, like some nice details about it. I feel like this is going to go on a while, so go ahead and tell us about the podcast you were on because I watched a little bit of it and it was very cool. Everyone loved all your Beatles impressions. So yeah, tell us about the podcast you were just on.
Yeah, well, it was a YouTube channel. Um, uh, so not your typical podcast, which is audio only. I was on one of those as well, and which was called "Get Back to the Beatles," which is done by the guy who does the Boston Breakfast with the Beatles show that airs in Massachusetts, Maine, and New Hampshire. So
Hmm.
very much a New England-based podcast system. And I think I was a little self-conscious on that, so I didn't talk as much or as clearly as I could have. Plus, I didn't know the kind of questions they were going to ask, and, to be quite honest, I've never been interviewed before for anything except a job. And, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect, so I think I was a little more quiet than I should have been. So on the next one I did, which was the, Plastic EP YouTube channel, with a guy from Australia with the sunglasses
Yes.
who was in a punk band in Australia in 1981 called Plastic EP. Now you know why that's the name and why he wears the glasses, which I think he did back in the day. They still put out digital albums. Evidently, he's got like 80 of them out
Oh,
with the
really?
Plastic EP. So it's a thing. Anyway, he's a very entertaining character. And he likes to put on all these Beatle
He
experts.
seems like yeah, with his wigs and
And
everything too. He seems a little
well, he
nutty.
normally doesn't wear wigs, but he always has sunglasses on. And he's an authentic Australian. And I knew from watching, well, I've been watching him for a couple of years actually, long before I was into the voiceover stuff or the narration. And
So was that a cool little deal to be a
yes, it
fan of
was.
something for so long and then be on it? I
Oh
had that
my
when I
God, you have no
yeah.
idea.
I
It
went
was
on
like,
I went on a comic book podcast. That's my favorite comic book podcast that I've been listening to for
was that
years and
the
years.
Scottish one? Was that the Scottish one, or
No,
was that a different one?
that was a
Oh,
different one.
that's
That was
right,
that
the
was
Scottish one where they were talking about, soccer, was it? No?
he has a comic book for soccer, but we weren't talking about any of that soccer.
Okay.
But yeah, it was that's a Scottish podcast called the Brew Gooders.
That's
Um,
it.
yeah, I listened or I made friends with those guys, and I was on that one. Now this is the Comic Book Club Live podcast. They still run every Tuesday. But yeah, that's one of my favorite probably my favorite comic book podcast for years and
Cool.
years, and I actually got to be on it to promote my book, which was cool.
Yeah. So that's sort of how I feel by, sort of breaking onto, the Beatles scene, onto one of their broadcasts, and,
Yeah, very cool.
I had fun. It was much more enjoyable than I had any right to expect, I think, because the guy was a real professional,
Hmm.
and, he, was courteous to us and kind and let us know about playing around a little bit and everything. The author, Jude, she was a bit nervous about it ahead of time, and,
Well,
I just hope
she seemed super enthused, and she had nothing but
she
amazing
is
things
one
to
of the
say about you.
nicest people you've ever want to meet. Jude Sutherland Kessler, and she's, a real sweetheart from down in Louisiana, and, a real Beatle John Lennon expert. You can't stump her on anything, and, not that I would wanna try, but every time I thought I'd heard something that I bet, "Oh, I'll bet she doesn't know this exists," or something. No, no, I'm wrong.
Mhm.
No, she's not only knows what it is, but she's already had it transcribed or something like that, when
Yeah.
I think I've heard a bootleg or a recording of them just chatting about something, because those are the kind of things I was looking for to get the voices right for the audiobook.
Mhm. Mm.
So, she does
Yeah.
know her stuff,
Yeah, she was
but she
just talking
doesn't
about
like to
your
be asked to sing.
as to sing?
Oh, you didn't watch that part. She was asked
No,
to
I guess I
sing
didn't
a
see that.
little
Oh,
bit
really? Oh, I get no, I
because
didn't
he's
see
also
that
a
then.
fan of the Monkees.
I did see us
So,
talk about the monkeys a little bit.
yes, which I'd known going in that he was a fan. I didn't know he was gonna bring it up, and that was the very first thing he did was to hold up the Monkees' greatest hits,
Mhm.
which was, the Arista version of the album, which came out, you've heard of Rhino Records, right?
Yes.
They do specialty records and collectibles. Well, their first big thing was the Monkees, which they bought back in the 1980s. They bought all of the records from the old Cold Gems record, label that had the Monkey recordings on them. And the one he held up in the podcast was one that you got from one of those record of the month clubs, because it was in fact the first record that I ever had that wasn't the Beatles.
Uh-huh. How
So
about
I'm like,
that?
"Oh, wow, he's got that album," and I didn't know he was gonna show it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So,
So
good. That
some of
was
our old colleagues from back in our, old business might remember I liked the Monkees,
yeah.
and
I
brought it
mean, I
into the
know.
trainings.
I remember that. Yeah. The monkeys, the Beatles, all that stuff. Yep.
You weren't,
All right, man.
there, I think, the day I had the Muppet answering the telephone.
I don't think I remember that.
Whoever answered the phone, you did.
I don't think I remember that. May
I'll recreate it someday,
maybe I
on
do.
here. I'll recreate it someday on here, so you could see what I did, just to have one of the managers notice, because they weren't looking to see or paying any attention to what we were doing in
Is it
checkout.
on YouTube?
It is not.
Oh, okay. It
It
wasn't part of a
wasn't
training video you
recorded.
did on
It wasn't
YouTube?
recorded. No, this was live and at my desk.
Mhm. I feel like, it's kinda ringing a bell, but I don't remember all the details
You
about it.
probably heard about it. I don't know which manager, but pictures were taken.
Oh, did you get in trouble for it?
I did not get in trouble for it. I
Okay.
carefully made sure that it was on my break time,
Okay. There was something you got in
and I
trouble
didn't have
for.
a live person on the other end who did not know what was going on.
Ah,
So I made sure that, it was nothing that anybody would get in trouble for, either
didn't you get
because
in
of me
trouble
or with me.
for doing a voice or something or doing something that you like having fun with something?
I don't think so with a voice.
Oh, okay.
The one thing I almost did was, as a trainer, I, did all the trainings for everything on every level at one point, right? So
Yeah.
I did all the new hire trainings, I did all the product trainings, I did all the refresher trainings, I did trainings on how to use this and how to use that tool, like live meeting, things like that. And I said, I could use an assistant. I could use somebody to help. Like, well, we can't hire that, just like we
Tell me our
can't actually
internet cut
hire
out
you.
again.
What? What happened? You still there? Oh, you dropped out. Or did I drop?
No, my internet's been
Okay.
crap. Yep. Melanie says,
Melanie
"Clock me the
remembers
time
clock me the
clock."
time clock. Yep.
I don't think I do.
I would give a demonstration on how to use the clock software to the new hires,
Uh-huh.
and I would add in test clocks called Ticky Tock or Clocky or the Clockster or the Tockster or the Tickster, and, one of them went out to do it on the floor, and he was adding one in with that name without asking the client, who then got on the phone and said, like, "Do you have to name it that? I don't really think that's particularly funny." And I just said, "What are you doing? I
Eh,
didn't tell you to do that. That was a humorous example of what a client might do. It wasn't an instruction to do that. What do you think you're doing,
that's
Isaac?"
hilarious. Oh, okay.
And,
Ah, yeah, that makes sense.
uh,
'Cause you think like, okay, immediately that person just doesn't have it.
and immediately all I can think of is like, which manager going to hear about this, and who are they
Yeah.
going to blame for putting that idea in his head? So that would have been me. But in any event,
Interesting.
yes. What was I talking about?
Uh,
You asked if I got in trouble for something.
yes.
So I said I needed an assistant, and because I didn't have one, I thought I'd play around with our boss a little bit and make up one. So, I didn't have enough time to do it full blown because we went from very slow when I did have time for it to much, much busier. And I knew I wasn't gonna waste any time or get in trouble for wasting somebody's time
Mhm.
doing it. But I had envisioned having an entire desk set aside with a name tag for the fake person to sit at, with all of the equipment there as if a real person had been in there, including all the knickknacks and bric-a-brac and everything, and have different people contribute to bringing it all in, just to make our poor boss wonder what in the world was going on, and me not knowing what the limits were on doing that. So, at one point, what I did do was I built up a signature for this person, gave the person a name, which was, um, Rachel Alden.
Okay.
Rachel Alden was my virtual assistant. Virtual because she didn't
Oh,
exist.
yeah. I remember this.
And, I made up a signature file for her, which had a logo, a cute little, uh, font, and a little pithy quote, which said something like, something like, "Yesterday no, tomorrow is the future, yesterday is this, which is why today is a present." Just something that you'd see on one of those little mottos that sort of made you sort of a little sick if you
Yeah.
saw that on real email, like, "Is this a professional email from somebody who works for our company? Why isn't the company logo in this?" That kind of thing, which everybody was talking about on the floor at that point. So, I did one. And then in the middle of a whole bunch of crisscross email messages from upper management to our level and our boss's level,
Mhm.
in the middle of it, I sliced in, before I forwarded it to that team, uh, partial email, which I created by copy and pasting this and that basically said like, "Mr. McKinley, I think this was intended for you." And that was the email from Rachel. And then I buried that a little bit deep, and, but our boss noticed it, and he came over and he's like, "Yeah, I noticed it. I don't think the rest of them did, and, it's funny, I know what you're doing, but never again, something like that.
That's
But
funny.
boy, was it cute. And I wish to heavens I had a copy of it. I had one, but I lost it when, I had to hand my laptop in when we got, uh, let go, and so therefore I couldn't, I didn't think to email it to my own personal self later, just
Mm,
as something I could show as like, here's what I did as a content creator."
that's funny.
So now you know the rest of the story, and so does the world at large, and Melanie too.
Yep.
Anthony Albright I didn't create. Major Accounts created Anthony Albright, or even, National Accounts, but, Melanie's correct about that.
Can't keep up with that too. I thought
Can't
Anthony
keep up
Albert
with
was a
that.
real person. That name sounds familiar.
It was maybe it started with a real person, but it basically was, when I did trainings, I found a list of names that were all approved at every level of the company that were used as profiles for whatever sales material was going out, and
That's where I know that name from.
I stuck to that list like glue. And so we had half of the folks who were not professional doing trainings that were client facing with like Mickey Mouse, or other copyrighted material or misspellings of names or Marvel superhero, like a Peter Parker works here. Ha ha
Yep.
ha.
Mhm.
And I thought somebody might get in trouble for that at some point. So I steered away from doing the fun stuff like that.
Okay.
Because I thought, well,
That makes sense.
even if I'm already goofing around doing things, at least I could do some things professionally.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You'd think you'd have to have some kind of fun.
Well, I tried, and I tried to do it in a way that didn't get myself or other people in trouble.
Yeah.
For the most part, I succeeded.
All right, man. Uh,
Any
what
other
else?
candies you want to talk about, or
No, I think that we went from candy, we had our spiel about candy, but we actually made some sense of talking
well,
about
it's
the
post
topic.
COVID, so is it still a good idea to put it out?
Yes.
We can have that as our wrap up.
I would say that, yeah, it's still good to put candy out. Obviously, it has to be wrapped, but like we talked about pre-COVID, you wouldn't leave out unwrapped candy anyway. But yeah, I think it's
Or
absolutely,
even cookies.
no, don't leave cookies out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
no.
agree. What about Girl Scout cookies in
That's
boxes
what
that
I
are
was gonna
open?
say because I think that's what some people do would leave out like a box of Girl Scout cookies and people would just go in and dive in and take them. Honestly,
I don't know that
I
anybody does that. I think most people just sell them, for their kids because otherwise their kids will, um, be demeaned at school or something. If you don't sell your quota of, candy for band
I
or
guess.
chocolate for, whatever other thing that the school is making you buy
Yeah,
to
I
be
should have
able
been
to
selling
fund all of
donuts
that
for
stuff.
my kids' little league, but, that didn't happen. They only gave
Well,
us a
hey,
week.
our old job, I used to when they had, drives for this, drive for that, selling I brought the candy in and had the little jar there, like, until they stopped all that. They're like, "There's too much pressure around in the office to contribute to everything." So
Yeah,
it became a black market kind of under the
that's
counter thing. "Hey,
yeah.
slip you some cookies, man. You
Oh,
want some of
yeah.
those, like,
Guess what? My daughter's selling wrapping paper, like, oh,
you
Jesus
want some of
Christ.
those Samoas? Yeah, I got some, man. Got some of those mints too. Hook you up."
Alright, what else do you wanna plug?
Well, in the next episode of a Beatles audio drama called Beatles: A Day in Their Life or Beatles Drama. I'll be in episode 5 that comes out within the next week, and I play John Lennon's father, Fred Lennon.
Uh-huh,
So
pretty
that's
interesting.
that's going on. My audiobook is on sale everywhere except for Audible, which should be out this week. So if
Okay.
you use Spotify, you can buy She Loves You, the audiobook. Again, a John Lennon series book, and it's 33 hours long. So if the book is too long, you don't want to read the book, hey, you can listen now. Something
Yep.
good to do on a vacation or a trip, your commute, a hike, a walk. Just chip out a little bit every day. I think you'll like it. It's not a boring book. and I
with
liked
built-in im
doing all the voices, yeah.
with yeah, so I say with built-in impressions.
Or just, a sense of what somebody sounds like,
Yeah,
as close as I could come to it without going over the top, and if I wasn't gonna be close to it, I didn't try to do a full-on impression.
yeah.
So it should be reminiscent, at least, of what somebody would sound like. Some voices I did better than others, but I
Yeah, they
was
all
asked to voice them in case, you're curious.
yeah, exactly.
And I think I did
They all
pretty good.
sound pretty good. Like I said, she was super ecstatic about you and your impressions and
I do a very good Ed Sullivan.
yeah. And then they were like, Give us
Yesterday and
George.
today.
Give us some George. What about Ringo? What would Ringo say?" That was funny.
Oh, Ringo.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you very much, Mike. Glad to be on
No
here.
problem.
I'll be on a couple of other, audio dramas coming up, but nothing that's been announced with a date yet, and I'm still, working on some history projects that I'd like to do, audiobooks on.
So where can they go when those things are being dropped? Where can they go to find out when it will be dropped?
Why, I have a website called McKinley Co. That's McKinleyCO.com.
Can
And
they
I'm
follow you
also
on
on, Facebook. That's Scott R. McKinley on Facebook, or Scott R. McKinley on Instagram, or Scott R. McKinley on Twitter.
there you go. Perfect. You should
And
set
thank
up
you.
I'll have to send you a link. I
I
have
want
some
Linktree. I wanna do a
yes.
Linktree page.
That's exactly what I was
Was
gonna say.
that what you were just gonna say?
Yep, that is because I have a linker. It's linkr dot bio, and it's, so linker dot bio / Mike Spear Jr. You can go to that, and it's all the links to where you can get my comics, pins, the Spear Studios YouTube page, all the podcast, Instagram pages. But yeah, I'm on everything, Mike Spear Jr.
Is there
Um,
a link there, Mike, for the, issue number 2 of CWL?
there is, there's a link to where you can buy it from the Global Comics website. However, my that reminds me though that my linker does not have a link to my Kickstarter that is live right now,
Oh,
to
it's
get some
live
pr
now?
it is live now, it's been live for about 10 days. Um, I'm about 40% funded, um, to
Wow.
generate some money for some print copies of issue 2 because that's the most expensive part. So, if you go to @CWL Comic on Instagram, the link is in the bio in there, and there's always, other, stories that have the link in it and stuff too.
Is this
Um,
a Patreon account or a Kickstart or Indiegogo? Which kind of
it's a Kickstarter.
it's Kickstarter
Yeah.
itself, very
So if
good,
it doesn't
okay.
fund, nothing happens, but so I'd like to
Hey,
get
I
it
prefer
funded.
print versions myself.
That's what I know. I tweeted
You know,
about that before,
I'm
somebody else
like
did the same
everybody
thing.
else, I pretend to like the digital ones, like, "Oh, that's fine, and it's so compact, I'll never lose them." But in reality, everybody prefers the actual hard copy.
Yeah, see, I
'Cause you
like
wanna
digital
hold it in your
copies
hands.
too. Yeah, I like digital copies, but I also obviously, yeah, nothing
"Oh,
beats
I'm
the
sorry, I was
physical.
reading, but my battery ran out, so I couldn't finish reading the book." This is the about me doing that, and I've got
Yep.
lots and lots of digital books, but I still prefer the print copy.
Yeah.
Same with my comics.
So be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Subscribe to the Spear Studios YouTube channel and, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify and everywhere else you listen. You
Yep,
can follow us. We have the Cube Nerds Facebook group. There's a Cube Nerds Facebook page. There is, I think it's at Cube Nerds on Instagram and at Cube_Nerds on Twitter. Not very active on Twitter. Instagram, I post in the stories. I post some funny memes and reels and stuff like that.
yep,
Um, yeah, but then
and I
yeah,
believe you're on TikTok, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm on TikTok too. Yeah, I have a TikTok where I pretty much just promote a lot of my comic stuff. Um, but yeah, we yeah, um, yeah, that's it. Follow all my stuff.
Okay,
Subscribe.
and, same here. Follow me or just say hi at some point, that would be great too. I keep, plugging and, hopefully we'll be able to do this on a more regular basis there, Mike. We'll try for weekly at some point once we're all geared up and there's enough time.
Yeah, well, we're on 2 weeks in a row now. So I think I think we can do this.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we'll try to keep the Cube Nerds podcast regularly, so you can head over to the Cube Nerds group on Facebook or right here on the Spear Studios YouTube channel. And you can watch us and listen to us. So right now we're looking at Tuesdays at about 9:45 Eastern time.
9:45 or 10 Eastern. Yep. And for myself on my own website, that's mckinleyco.com, I was going to put an events calendar. And that way people can see when I know that we'll be scheduling one or when I know that we'll be ahead of time not be able to do it because of vacations or otherwise just occupied with trips or business things or uh, my next interview. Call me. But otherwise,
Me too.
we'll try to, yeah. I want you in a comic show, a larger one this time. I want you with Thriller.
Yeah, well, you know what I've realized with reading books to my children is that I don't have any good voices. I thought I would be
Do
a good voice
yourself.
actor. I'm actually a shitty voice actor, and I my voices that I do when I'm reading books to my kids are terrible.
Your own voices are fine. Your own voice is fine, I should say.
Yeah, I mean that's the one
It's
I
one of the
use.
reasons I thought you'd be great at a podcast, and you are. So there you
But
go.
if I'm reading a book and there's multiple characters and I'm trying to keep up with their different voices, yeah, forget about it. Atrocious.
You
I
can't
even
be
tried doing one.
self-conscious in front of the kids,
I
so just
tried
try
doing
it.
a duck
Huey,
voice
Dewey, and a big
yesterday.
kablooey. Hmm?
My son even just told me, he goes, just do your own voice. He goes, you
Yeah.
don't have to do that voice. Just do your own voice.
Yeah, if it comes naturally to you to do a different one, then try it. But otherwise, your own voice is kind, and
Well,
your
thank you.
kids like the sound of their dad's voice.
That is true too.
Okay.
Alrighty, sir. I think that will
All
do it
right.
for us tonight. Yeah, I mean, right now, nothing's stopping us from next week. Um,
Yep.
yeah, let's look to do that. And next week we'll chat about business trips.
We will. I may actually be on a trip on Wednesday next week, so that if we leave on Tuesday night, I will try to let you know that ahead of time.
Okay, perfect.
It shouldn't. Well, I'm not sure anymore, but going out to visit family out in Pennsylvania
Gotcha.
and friends. So
Alrighty. All right,
okay.
folks. Thanks for listening. And
Yep. Thanks for
yeah,
tuning
we'll
in.
catch you with a new episode next week.
Okay, time
All
to
right.
unwrap that lollipop.
Yeah, sure.
There you go.